It's pretty warm out there today, Paul, right?
Excuse me?
Pretty warm out there today, I'd imagine, right?
Really didn't feel so bad compared to last week.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in the low 80s is nice. Or even the last few days, we got that humidity. Feels like it's in the 90s.
Yeah.
Such is summer, though. Or I think we're going to have another hot week next week.
Yeah.
It's not stopping golfers.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the July 2023 meeting of the Oak Hills Park Authority. I'm going to call to order, and I'm going to start with roll call for the authority members, and I'll do it just in the order that they appear on my screen. When I call your name, just note your attendance presence by saying here or present or something. So first up, Alan Dutton.
Yeah.
Rich Dellinger.
Here.
Gary Leeds.
Here.
TJ Trimboli.
Here.
And Joe Andrasco, I'm here. That makes 5. And that means we have a quorum and can do business. The first item up, and I'm actually going to make a motion myself to admit Denise Brown, whose term expired in June and has not yet been reappointed to the authority, but is going to be, to admit Denise into the meeting with speaking privileges just for this meeting. Can I get a second on that?
So moved.
And any opposed?
No.
Hearing none. Denise, you can talk all you want. Without recognition. So let's move on and do agenda item number 2. That's acceptance of the minutes from our June meeting. I think it was June 23rd. I've reviewed them, or June 22nd, sorry. I've reviewed them. It was the budget discussion. There was a lot of detail in the budget discussion. It was captured maybe at the highest level I've ever seen. So there's not really much to respond to in these minutes. So I don't have any edits to the minutes because there's just not that much there to edit. It's all very accurate. And so I just wonder if anybody else has any commentary on those minutes.
Joe, I just saw one thing at the bottom of under old business, new business. It says double star, Mr. Andrasco Dellinger moved. So I think it's just dropped my name off of there. I don't think it was, yeah.
Yep. Any other commentary? All right, with that, can I get a motion to approve those minutes as amended?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And I'll just do a voice vote. Any opposed? Hearing none, those minutes are approved. Public comment is up next as agenda item number 3. I am looking at the participants and I don't see any non-panelist attendees, and so I'll give it 5 more seconds and we will close public comment. So we can move on to agenda item number 4. And I just want to start off, this is the report of the chair. Very brief. I want to start off by welcoming Jim Holliday, the new GM of Oak Hills Park. Going to be doing a lot of coordination, going to be making sure that everybody's kind of moving in the same direction and taking a little bit of work off everybody's plate. Kind of some of the central office work is going to fall under him. And it's something that I think is just really good organizationally for the park, to unify some of those things and have one kind of steady hand focusing on it. So very excited. He's going to give his own introduction, so I won't try to duplicate what he can probably do better. The other item that I wanted to note was that we do have a new member, Robert Stowers, who unfortunately is not here yet. I hope he does join in progress. And this is per the ordinance revision. The director of Rec and Parks, or delegate, was added to the authority as a member. And so we'll have voting privileges. We'll, be here for discussion. It's something that kind of started getting talked about maybe 12, 18 months ago, and in different formats, and finally came to fruition a couple of months ago. And hopefully he's able to join for this, his first meeting. Otherwise, the conditions, I hear great things. The financials are strong. We ended the fiscal year in June on a very strong footing. I do want to note that in our budget, though we have a strong cash position, we are intending to deploy some of that towards capital projects. And that's something that we really need to do to keep the course and the overall park really in the best shape possible, and make sure that people are coming and using it, because accessibility usage is the name of the game. Also want to recognize that cash reserves are not a bad thing, right? The most important thing is being able to be financially secure and not necessarily have to borrow at high rates when things are not as great, when revenue is not as strong.
Joe, you basically just gave my report now, so I'm just going to
go. So those cash reserves are important. We're not looking to, kind of winnow them down anytime soon. We do intend to hold them for a rainy day. Rainy day funds are the real deal. And so, we want to find appropriate facilities through which to do that. And we'll have some discussion on that in this meeting. I'm going to end there because I think I've already spoken too long. And then we can move on to another motion that I'm going to make, because we do have one member who is time constrained and is only going to be with us for about another 30 or 40 minutes. I'm going to make a motion to move agenda item number 7, which is old business, new business, to right now instead of committee report, instead of management reports. So can I get a second for that motion?
So moved.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm going to give this one to TJ because Alan's been doing a lot of seconding.
He got me too quick.
Yeah, he's quick. And I'll just do a voice vote without objection. Any opposed? All right. Then we can go ahead and do old business, new business now. The first item there is nomination and election of the executive committee. And I do believe we have people who have agreed to take on these positions. And I would solicit from anyone who might, if there's a motion with a slate of nominees. I think we can do this as a slate. So please, if anyone has a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, great.
So I'll make the motion for Joe Androsco for chair, Alan Dutton for vice, and Denise Brown for treasurer.
All right, that motion's on the table. Is there any second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion people would like to engage in? All right. I appreciate it. I think it's a good team. We'll be able to do good things. I know I'm time constrained. Alan has been stepping up and really being a super vice chair over the past 12 months, I'd say. And I, for one, appreciate it. I hope we all do. Jennifer was also very time constrained, our former treasurer, and she declined to continue as treasurer. But I know Denise is going to do a great job, great financial mind, creative financial mind. and we'll step in and take over well and kind of complement Mark's work as well.
So, Joe, I'd just like to say, from my point of view, thank you for staying on as chairman for another year. I'm quite happy to stay in the background and work. And I am retired. I have more time, etc. I know what it's like with you guys who have to work and stuff like that. Happy to do that. I think with the addition of James Holliday, I'm not saying our lives are going to be easier, but I think we look forward to that relationship moving forward. So, from my point of view, thank you, and I look forward to working very much with Denise, who I think will be great. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
I second that.
Well said, Ellen.
All right. Then why don't we do a roll call vote just to make it more official? And again, I'll go in the order folks appear on my screen, and just say yay or nay after I say your name. Yay would be to approve that slate. Nay would be to object to that slate. So in the order I see on my screen, Alan Dutton,
Yay.
Rich Dellinger,
Oh, yay.
Gary Leeds,
Yay.
TJ Trimboli,
Yay.
and Joe Andrasco votes yay. So that's 5 votes in favor, and the motion carries. And congratulations, Denise. Welcome to the party.
Thank you.
I
Thank
hope you
you.
enjoy getting
I
in.
hope it will be good. Thank you.
It will. We'll make sure of it. Okay, then we can move on to the item formerly known as 7B, which is discussion of cash facilities for our funds, our cash balances. Mark or Gary, do you want to lead this discussion?
Well,
I think.
Mark, you want me to do this or what?
Yeah. You would take and lead. Yep.
Okay. All right. So we started to talk about this a little while ago. Because now that we have some excess cash, we should be earning some interest on it now that the money market accounts have returned to some interest, some real live interest, and the banks continued to be a little reluctant to offer us much of anything for holding our money at the bank. So Mark put me in touch with his representative, and it's Dean, what was his last name?
Dean Trombetta.
Dean at the Norwalk Bank and Trust, which is part of the community bank. This is a bank that is only the 21 largest bank in Connecticut. So I'm a little leery of the smallness of the bank. There are like 9 branches roughly. And as we all know, FDIC only guarantees you up to $250,000. At the same time, we started to have this conversation. I don't know if you saw what our finance director did in Norwalk recently this week on Nancy on Norwalk. Somehow he guaranteed $20 million or made sure that the amount of money that the town of Norwalk had was guaranteed by a third-party agreement. And maybe, Joe, you understand that better than I do, but somehow he's got some sort of third-party agreement with the Webster Bank and the Bank of New York. So that money is safe. And so the work I started to do with Norwalk Bank and Trust, I was a little worried about. So Alan put me in touch with Mr. Dashowitz, and I spoke to him earlier this week, who has now put me in touch with his assistant, Karen Vidali. And I am going to meet with her on next Tuesday to talk about the arrangement that Norwalk Bank and Trust is willing to do with us. And this is a sweep account. I don't know how many people have been involved with corporate finance or that type of thing, but sweep accounts were very common instruments that we used in corporate, which effectively sweeps your money automatically at the end of each day, puts it into an overnight type instrument. You earn some money on it, okay, and then it comes back to you the next day. The arrangement that Norwalk Bank and Trust had is we would establish some sort of target amount based on our needs, okay, and we would have a sweep account. So any money that exceeds that would be swept up and invested in a Federated Hermes money market. And these, I would be essentially US securities, either treasury bills or US bonds. And right now, some of those funds are paying as much as 5% interest. So we would be earning a pretty good return on our funds by creating the sweep account. The question that I really had for Norwalk Bank and Trust is this money guaranteed? Well, the instrument itself is AAA, very safe, no problem. And the money would be in a custodial account, which is not a brokerage account. So it wouldn't actually be FDIC insured or SIPC insured, which is the brokerage type insurance. But because the instrument is very safe, okay, I don't have a problem with what that is. However, before I propose something to the authority, I really felt I needed to talk to the town, because Mr. Dachowitz, in one of his statements last week, and Alan, maybe, I think you were there at the meeting, suggested that Oak Hills might be rolled into this agreement. When I spoke to him, I was a little uncomfortable with the fact that our money would sort of be in a Norwalk account, and it would be designated for the Oak Hills, Park Authority, but I wasn't really comfortable with that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels with that. So I wanted to understand more about what he was talking about, and then come back with a better proposal next month as to which seems to be the best thing. I do like the sweep agreement. It would cost us $50 a month, but this is automatic. Mark doesn't have to do anything. We establish a target amount. The bank is doing all this behind the scenes, and each night the money transfers. And if we don't need it, it just stays there, okay, and continues to earn interest until we need it. And if we do need it, then it automatically sweeps back. So that's kind of what I'm working on. But I really felt I was uncomfortable after I read this wording, and I wanted to make sure that the town was comfortable with what we might do. Alan, you were at the meeting. What did you have any insights here?
I think basically, I was going to bring it up a bit later, but basically the town is very happy with the way that Oak Hills is going. And of course, when I give my reports, reporting to the Board of Estimate Taxation, and also to the Finance Committee of the Common Council, it's good news. We're ahead of budget, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I may be laying on a bit too thick and thinking, oh, okay, great. Now they've got all this money. What can we, and I said we're going to invest it. And that's where Henry Dacos came in and said, well, this is what the city is doing. Maybe you could basically, become involved in that. And I said, well, let me have, someone who knows about this, Gary Leeds, get in touch with you. And that's how this came about. But while we're on the topic, if I may, I would just like to say that in the 4 meetings I've had in the last 2 months with the BET and also with the finance committee of the Common Council, good news, we've got this amount of cash. It has been raised by members of the committee that, and we do pay the city this year, I think in this fiscal year, we're going to pay them, I think about $118,000 in actual debt
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
Overall, which is made up of $2 every round we give them $2.15, and then whatever we owe them, we pay 1% back to them, which comes to we still owe them about $1.8 million. It was raised
1%
basically.
of our audited revenue.
Yeah, it was raised. Well, if you're doing so well, would it possibly make sense then to start paying us back more money? And I countered to the effect of, I believe we would rather put money back into the club itself. And we this year we're spending $130,000 on capital improvements. Next year's budget calls for $270,000 to spend on capital improvements. So we're looking to put more money back into the facility as we did 2 years ago. We had such a great year, and we spent $170,000 on doing the continuous cart paths. So I just wanted to let the committee members know about that as well at this
Yeah,
time.
and my take on what he said is whether we could pay them back faster. Well, if we continue to pay 100,000 plus a year, and we only owe $1.8 million to the city at this point, roughly in round numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would mean we would pay them in 18 years, and the agreement expires in 45.
Yeah.
So we would pay them back roughly 4 years in advance of the end of the agreement. So I think our response to that is we are paying you back faster than the agreement says, and we need to continue to invest in the club so that we continue to impress our golfers and they continue to pay the rounds so that we do have the money to pay you back.
Yeah.
Yes.
On this
Kind
topic.
of my feeling.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're right on this topic, as I've kind of read, and I guess this is obviously for the record. I think the priorities would be reinvesting, because we're in a fine financial position right now. The priorities for excess cash, excess to some extent, if that's the proper word for it. I don't believe excess cash is the proper word for it, but our cash. Priority number one, in my mind, reinvesting in the park. Priority number two is establishing really strong reserves. Priority number three would be retiring the highest interest rate debt that we have. That's all, in order of the interest rates. The renegotiated deal with the city is at a 0% interest rate. Now it does carry some burden because that rate that we pay back at does go up and up and up. So at some point it may make sense to kind of pay that down faster so that we're done with it, because paying $350 around in 2040 may be a little bit more burdensome than it is at $215 right now. So we should think about that.
Well, yeah, let me just go on. Denise, I'm going to meet with this woman on Tuesday at 3:00. You're welcome to join me and her to hear her viewpoints. But I'm pretty comfortable with the sweep account and this Federated Hermes government money market fund that pays at the moment near 5%. And I don't think we're putting our money at risk, even if it's only in a custodial account. I think that's with State Street Bank as well. And versus getting getting involved with the town's methodology of what they did with the Bank of New York and Webster Bank. Because it sounded to me, it got much more complicated because then the money had to go to Webster Bank. That, you know, how are we going to figure out how we're going to get it back and all of those types of things. So I want to try and make them feel comfortable with what we're doing.
I just have one question. How much
Yeah.
money are we talking about in the sweep account? What are you talking about in terms of dollars?
I don't know yet because we have to establish a target balance. Okay, so right now, if we look at our June financials, our revenues were greater than our expenses for the month. So the bank would work with us to come up with, you know, what that target would be and how much money we needed in the bank. Mark knows more about this. I would put as much as I could into that account based on our cash needs. And if they're going to sweep it back, it comes down to mechanics. In other words, we could put all of our money up there and be earning interest. And Mark would say, okay, my payables today are $50,000, and then they would send us back $50,000. I don't think we want to do it quite that way, but there's, like I said, I don't have a solid proposal, but to the extent that this security is AAA, and we're talking about US government securities, I'm pretty comfortable putting as much as possible, but I need Mark to be comfortable with the money he's got in his bank. So
Thanks.
that's where I am.
And would we focus this on, would we split into kind of reserve longer term cash versus operational cash and maintain a account where we just have some operational cash hanging out?
Well,
Yeah,
the operational cash would be our main bank account.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of things to talk about, and Joe,
Yeah.
you're right. How much can we say that's what I think the target balance is, but our target balance would change by our season. So in
Mhm.
other words, right now, I could
Yeah.
put all of our extra cash in there because coming in, you know, by month, I'm okay, but now let's move into October and do my expenses exceed my revenue? And so that target balance would change. So I think there's a little work that has to be done before we figure out how much we could put up there. So, and that would be working with Dean and Mark to try and give us a monthly flow. And of course Denise now. So she needs to understand that as well.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yes, we want to make sure we have enough of a compensating balance to offset the bank fees as well.
Right.
And
Yeah,
and the other option too, Gary, was also that we do have, there is the option of a 20-month CD at 5% that we can, that is fee, that there was no fee to break it. We can always choose to put something there as well. So some options.
yeah. So there's more to discuss, but I just wanted everyone to know that, you know, we're moving forward. And for Alan, you know, I think we need to make Norwalk, the city of Norwalk, comfortable with what we're doing, or do we join whatever, you know, they're doing? But at this point, I have to tell you the truth. I didn't understand how that agreement worked.
Right.
And
That's
it
what
seems
you meeting with him, Gary, I think, to be honest with you. That's great. Thank you.
that solution seems to be more geared towards really large amounts.
Right.
Yep.
We're actually not that, I mean, the amount of money that I'm thinking
Yeah.
would be in reserve would be more in line with fitting underneath the FDIC limits.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
our cash position, Mark, remind me if I'm wrong, at the end of the year is budgeted to be like 475, something along those lines. We would need
At the end of
24.
FY24.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because we're at 650-ish now. We're planning to run negative 175.
Already up to
Yeah, that's good.
725.
But as of 6:30, I'm just measuring that.
Yeah.
And so, great. So, the dollar amounts would kind of fit, but but I think we've got three options just to summarize. There's a city option, which it seems complex and designed for much larger amounts. There's some sort of the cash sweep option that Gary's describing, and then there's simpler options like CDs and other just regular kind of generally available things. So there's three options, and eventually we'll have to come up with the amount that we want to hold there and which option we're going to select.
Right.
But I do think we should move faster rather than slower, but deliberately. Only because these every month that we're not doing it is another month of interest that we're not earning.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's a rush,
Sure.
but it would be nice to be having our money work for us, as they say.
Right. So when I meet on Tuesday, I'll get an idea from the city, and then I'll go back to this the Patty Smith, who's at the community bank that Dean put us in touch with, and then try and get their proposal, and obviously sit with Mark to figure out what our target balance is and those types of things. So we can figure that out.
Great.
And did
Yeah, Gary, I'd like to
Sure.
join you.
Sure.
I'd like to try to, be part of that meeting on Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll send you a note. I'm here till Monday, but I'll send you a note tomorrow, and tell you the person, and she's in room 233, so I'll send that off to you.
thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great.
All right.
Any other questions on this topic or comments on this topic? All right. And I think we can close agenda item number 7, or formerly known as 7, and launch into management reports. And we'll start off with the debut management report by the new GM, Jim Holliday.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Oak Hills Park Authority Board of Directors, who had the confidence to take me on. And also thank you to Alan Dutton, who's been really great all along. We meet and talk a couple of times a week. And of course, Mark, Jim, and Paul on site are really helpful. So I did provide a report with some minutia, but I'm basically finding my way, which is to say that I am introducing myself to dozens of people every day. I'm still confused by the number of staff that we have. That's a big number, but it seems to be a great group. And of course, I'm introducing myself to as many golfers as I can. And this is it's a listen and learn period. I'm finding my way. I think I'm moving at a pretty good pace, and basically really excited to be within this organization. And I hope I can make a positive contribution, as Joe said, sooner rather than later. So thank you very much.
Jim, I wonder if, am I on mute? I wonder if you can just give a brief kind of synopsis of your career, what you've been doing. Just, not too in-depth, but
Sure.
just for
Yeah.
everybody.
Well, for the past basically 20 years, I've been managing condominium associations. And when Alan and I first began our discussions, we saw the parallels between working with boards of directors and working with members of the association and buildings and people. And there are a lot of parallels. The difference is that I've got one organization in my hometown, although there are 4 entities within it. We have, I've worked with, the different facets of management in condominium association work that I'm hope to be doing now. And prior to that, I had another roughly 20-year career in real estate sales. So
You know
I'm a
property.
seasoned vet, yes. Yeah.
That's great. Welcome. Are there any, I know there was a write-up in the agenda that Jim had provided. Were there any questions for Jim or any other comments that folks want to make?
I actually had one, Jim. After looking at your report, I saw the training for AED that you're doing or you wrote up about. And I just reminded myself, is there an AED machine at the tennis facility at all?
There is, and all of their folks are trained at Post 53. So anybody who works at the tennis center is fully trained. It's a
Thanks.
great resource. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim. Next up is report of the golf professionals. So take it away, Paul.
Thank you. So everything's really going well and running smoothly here at Oak Hills Park. Our course is in great condition now in peak golf season, and we are continuing to see full tee sheets. Our Golf Now software and the tee sheet program is working really well, and they're continuing to drive lots of golfers to the course from all over, as our reputation of great course conditions and putting surfaces continues to grow. So the golf course peak season again opens every 6:30 and 6 o'clock on the weekends. We close the golf shop at 6 o'clock, 6:30. Sales in the golf shop have been increasing a little bit due to the amount of play and also numerous sales I've been running. We recently had 7 golf outings that went very well with digital scoring from our Golf Genius Premier software package, which has really stepped up our game and has pleased our outing golfers immensely. One outing this year was new, the 100 Club of Connecticut, and they've already booked again for 2024. In fact, all our outings are eager to get their date again next year. And a big thank you to Steve Shepard, who's really been instrumental with Golf Genius, not only for the outings, but for all our men's and women's golf tournaments here in the associations. So we've had 10 outings so far with about 963 golfers year to date, and we have 8 more outings on the schedule. And in fact, I'm getting requests, and we don't have dates for people. August isn't really the prime season for outings, people are traveling, but there's a lot of eager people. In June, I don't think I mentioned anyone, but we had the Connecticut State Golf Association here having a qualifier. We had 125 golfers from all over the state. They really complimented our golf course. Low score was 70. So Oak Hills is a tough golf course, and 75 qualified for the state amateur. And then just last week, we also had 60 women from all over Southern Connecticut Women's Golf Association, and they play a yearly event here every July. The Oak Hill Men's Golf Association and the Women's Golf Association now in their 12th tournaments. The digital scoring's really been helpful, just a major upgrade, and reduces a lot of the work that we were doing in the past, but it really makes these events much more fun and much more interesting. We've had 5 junior golf schools, which have gained popularity over the years, and we are seeing our efforts really grow the game of golf with numerous juniors and families playing at Oak Hills Park. We've worked really hard over the last many years to introduce new players to the game. And just to give you an idea of how popular we've become, we have 43 5-week clinics here for juniors, women, and men for the season. Our PGA Junior League team gets better every year. This year, they're undefeated, 4-0, and they beat Shorehaven and Silvermine recently. Our annual passes, 51 this year. We're roughly getting close to about 1,200 golf memberships. 876 are residents, 160 are non-residents, and 34 are juniors, which is a big number. I think in the future, we're going to see if we can get some more non-resident memberships here. We've also discounted our golf memberships now that it's in July. We hadn't done this before, but we reduced it a little bit to attract some new golf members. We did have a little issues with our internet, through some of these storms, and it's been ongoing for a couple of years now. But I do think once and for all, our internet problems are probably going to be over. We did pour concrete last month for a synthetic tee line at the lesson tee, and we have new artificial turf on order, and I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up maybe by the end of the month to install that for us. Our 68 golf carts all running well and looking good. And we did refurbish 2 of our AED units, and we purchased a new one in order to save a life if necessary. And I think Jim's going to set us up with some training. And we presently have an inside golf shop staff of 10, an outside golf staff of 25. And basically we are complete with 35 golf staff members. And that's my report. If anybody has any questions.
Paul, you get any pushback from any members about reducing that price? I had a couple of people chat to me about it. How was the feedback for you?
Well, I'd say you're always going to get 1 or 2, but I don't understand why anyone would complain or understand, because half the season's already over. And so, you know, we only discounted to 30%. And the one thing, it obviously, a lot of people would like to become members or say I'm a member somewhere, but it also gives some people another extra day of advanced booking. So the general public gets 7. If you become a member of Oak Hills, you get 8. And that's really a big deal if you want to play early golf.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody else?
Makes sense to me. If people just move into town too, it gives them a break. I mean, for new people coming in, so it makes a lot more sense for someone like that.
Well,
So,
yeah, and you
good
know,
luck.
I know last year, right about this time, we had people coming in and they said, I'll do it next year.
Yeah,
Trying to encourage them, you know, and obviously if they join now, they'll probably rejoin again next year.
Yeah, sounds right.
Can I ask you a question about the AEDs?
Sure.
Does the Ranger have one in his cart? He travels around, or where are those?
Yeah, we keep one at the golf shop. The Ranger always has one. He has the brand new one. And then we keep one at the first tee.
At the first tee, not at the halfway house.
I don't think it would do us any good at the halfway house, because if we did have an emergency, somebody on our staff, even the starter, could take that and go right away.
Okay,
But the Ranger's out there touring the golf course with it all the time.
right.
And at tennis, right?
From what I've heard, I think they have one over there and they're trained. Yeah,
But
Yeah,
that's
that's
not a mobile unit.
I'm sure it is.
So you say that there's one at the tennis center?
I can't confirm that, but I think I heard that
Yeah.
with Jim Holliday.
I'll
Denise,
find,
they
Is
do
there,
have
Jim?
one. Yeah, they
Really?
do have one. And their staff is fully trained.
Yeah.
when you
Barb-
say there's
Barb
staff,
confirmed
you
that.
mean maybe the pros?
I would have to get clarification from Barb on that, but she said her staff is fully trained.
Okay, I mean, there's a lot of young girls that work in the office, and so I would be very surprised if they are trained, so I'm just thinking that maybe it's the pros. I just kind of don't know myself.
Get clarification on that.
Okay. Anything else for Paul?
nice job, Paul. Yeah,
Nice
good report.
nice report.
Yeah,
Good
thank you.
work.
We can move on then to Jim, the superintendent.
Okay, I really don't have too much to report. It's our busy season, so there's really no projects going on. I will say the weather's been unpredictable. Not the best for great conditions on the course, but
Yeah.
we're kind of holding steady, doing maintenance between raindrops. The paver did do a nice job on repairs on number 2, number 15, and near the cart barn. It's like the Autobahn now, you really just hit that gas pedal and go, go, go. I would like to have a meeting outside of this to try and delineate or decide on how much work we'd like to bite off on the bunker renovations next season. And I don't know if we want to like form a committee on that kind of thing or what. It is a big chunk of money. And, you know, if you're going to leave me to decide, I'm going to do them all next year.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure if everybody knows, but my previous mechanic resigned. He moved down south. I had hired a guy this year who worked here in the 90s. And since then, one of the things he's done right before he came here, he was an auto mechanic. So, you know, while it's a little scary because I only had 2 weeks from my old mechanic, and that's kind of, you know, it's not a lot of prep time. I think he's going to be a good fit because he learns something, he absorbs it like a sponge, and he actually is training guys out on the golf course because he listens and he gets the ideas that are presented to him, and I'm glad to have him on board.
Great.
And the last one, I don't know that we need to talk about, but there is this ongoing issue at AT&T with golf balls from the back tee flying into the driveway and against the house and into his cars in his driveway. And we need to increase the size of that safety net that stops the golf balls, or doesn't stop the golf balls rather. And we're working on that. Jim's given me the name of a couple guys that we think we can get it done.
Where,
And
where is that net going to be? Comparable to the lower tee or up by the?
up by the blue tee, the existing net that's there now is apparently not big enough. So we need
Not tall enough or not long enough?
Jim, I mean, I think it's not tall enough. Could only be my guess. Jim and I looked at it today and I don't know.
Just amazing, right?
The
Yeah,
physics of it really boggles my
baffles
mind.
the mind.
The logistics of how that I don't get it, but I guess it's happening. So I wonder, do you think it's any possibility that it's a material problem that they're getting through?
No, the netting is tight. It's
Yeah.
golf ball netting. It's
Okay.
definitely.
I just want to entertain the idea because the angles, it just doesn't comport, but it's happening, I guess. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess it just needs to be bigger.
He's a good neighbor. You know, he overlooks stuff, and I believe what he's saying. I can't believe that golfers could do that. It's hard to imagine.
I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it with my own eyes.
I will say that there was somebody teeing up on the 10th green, and I was teeing up on the 10th tee, and I was walking off the 9th green, and I got a line drive right in my, shoulder area here. I couldn't. He was a righty too. Like, how does that happen? So I'll believe it.
Okay. Got it. So kind of looking at different options there.
Yeah.
So I only had two questions. One is just maybe we'll deal with that second. It's how do we want to go about thinking about this bunker project? Do you want to come back with the Cadillac, I don't know what another nice car is, and then kind of just downgrade, or just how do you think is best to proceed? That's number two. But number one is with these downpours. I know in the past we washed out 6, or the car paths behind 6. We had a bunch of problems with flooding. Is it happening still, or are the fixes that we put in being effective?
Luckily, we haven't had the rates of rainfall per hour
Really?
to make that kind of mess.
Because the real washout was Ida, right?
Yeah, but I'll just jump in here real quick. I don't know, Jim, if you could even see these, but we got a review today, I believe, from somebody who played yesterday during that huge downpour. And he gave us a 4 or 5 star review saying after the 90-minute delay, he went out and the course had drained so well. He was very, very impressed. So that I know it wasn't Ida, but it was still.
He must have left off on 6 and gone right to 7 where all the dry holes start.
Yeah, where all
Maybe that's what it is.
the height is. Okay, but nothing urgent, nothing breaking right now.
Well, the irrigation system from the lightning, but we'll figure that out.
Okay. That wasn't on the report.
So-
I just want to mention, we had a lot of rain on the courts, and last year, before you put that drain in and the patio, the water used to wash out the hard true in court 7 and 8. And boy, it's working well this year. It's just, it's getting caught by the drain you put in, and it's taking around the courts. It really was good. And I want to just thank you for taking away some of that curb. I know we talked about it 2 meetings ago, and you got your guys out there on a really hot day.
I
We
never
have-
see anybody using it.
Yeah, I've used it, but it's. But we haven't talked it up. I just started telling people. I don't think they know. And so we'll try to talk it up and use it when it's really crowded.
Yeah, honestly, that drain worked out better than I thought.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I can't tell you how the court 7 and 8 now are just, they used to get washed out and they don't now with the heavy
Oh, good.
rains. Yeah.
All right.
Much better.
If I could say concerning the bunker, the bunkers, traps, or you guys call them, would it make sense to have any type of subcommittee involved? And obviously we have the authority involved. Would it make sense to involve any members of the golf association, the men's ladies golf? Just to
That's
get
kind of what I'm getting at, Alan, because I
You
mean,
know.
at clubs, they form committees just for long range planning, and
Yeah.
this is kind of where we're stepping into now. If we have a little money here and we
Mm.
want to do this kind of stuff, so
This is capital, right, Mark?
oh yeah,
And it's budgeted to some extent.
Well, no.
uh,
It's not. Isn't it next fiscal year, Jim?
I was gonna try for it for next fall, fall of 24.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So we're really in planning mode. Good.
Yeah. So we got a whole
Um,
year, Joe, to plan for it. But I think it'd be good to involve people, but not just the authority.
The tough thing is with a project like that, like when I talked to people in April about it, they said, "Oh, we can't do anything for you this fall. We're booked." So it's like we kind of have to move to get somebody to come in. There's only so many golf course construction companies, and there's, I guess, a lot of money laying around in the private clubs anyway. Even the public now. Yeah.
So do we want to
What
put
do you-
together a committee for that? I'd be happy to serve on that. TJ, I don't know if you have the time, but it might be good if you're on that too.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd be interested in being on that.
So what we've done in the past is I can name a chair of a bunker project committee. And then that chair can gather members of the committee from either the authority or from residents of Norwalk. Does that work for everybody? And would anyone like to volunteer to be chair?
I'll do it.
All right.
At least.
Jerry, if you're willing, I nominate you chair of the bunker project committee, and feel free to gather, as many people as you want to kind of participate. And I think the kind of focus of the committee, which you can determine in more detail, is really to, in the next couple of months, so that we can really be on schedule for the timing that Jim is talking about, come up with kind of the scope of what we want to do.
Okay, sounds
All right.
good. All right,
Excellent.
I'm gonna log off here and,
Okay. Oh, we got you just in time. Good.
right. Well,
Bye,
I
Gary.
stayed on because,
Okay.
yeah, I've talked to Jim. All right.
Enjoy your time.
Thank you,
Care, everyone. Okay, thanks.
Enjoy, Gary.
Yeah.
Hear from you this next week,
Yeah,
right?
I'll get you shortly. Yep.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay,
All right. Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Okay, just for record keeping purposes, we're now down to 4 members. We've lost our quorum. So if anything comes up that we need to vote on, it'll have to wait. But we can move on or continue. Jim, any other questions for Jim? Okay. Thank you. And last but not least, we have a finance report from Mark.
All right, I'm gonna change things up, shoot off the cuff a little bit here. Everyone's gotten the financials today, and you saw my notes in the commentary, so I'm not going to go over anything in detail. And Joe has already said it in the beginning. I mean, it really was a fantastic year. I remember, when the first few years I was here, we finally made $1.8 million in revenue, and that was, the goal. And now we almost hit 2.4. So very good. And also, as Joe already said, just great to be able to build cash reserves while reinvesting in the course, something we've never been able to do. At some point in 2018 and 2019, we had a $6,000 capital improvement that we needed to make, but we couldn't afford it. So we kept it was basically a refrigerant line, and we just kept putting more refrigerant in it, spending $100, $200 every few months, because we just couldn't spend a $6,000. So it's nice to be able to say we can do that now pretty easily. Yes. And I just want to touch on one thing from earlier, the discussion that Alan brought up from the BET about the payments. Just want to make sure everyone understands that there was a history here where we were really not paying back the city for a couple of years, or we simply couldn't do it because we had no money, and we constantly go in and try to renegotiate. So in 2019, we worked in full cooperation with the Common Council, and created the current loan that we have in place purposely for us to be able to both pay back the city, but also for us to improve our cash reserves. So I just want to make sure everyone understands. And then we also increase the amount that we pay, not just the step up, as Joe was talking about, $2.15, but initially we weren't paying for as many rounds as we are now. So we have increased it, and I think everyone should be happy. We're paying more than we had thought we would, and the more rounds that we get, the more it goes back to the city. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Other than that, just for me personally, this week and next week are pretty much my crunch time, the busiest time of the year for me. I have the auditors in on Monday and Tuesday, so I've been just cranking out the year-end close, and I'm happy to say, I'm proud to say that I got basically I only do fixed assets once a year to kind of do all the additions and disposals and then adjust depreciation. And I did that this afternoon. So I've closed the books as far as I know, unless the auditors find a material misstatement, but come on. I don't think that'll happen. It hasn't happened in the past, other than the cart fleet 2 years ago being reclassed to a capital lease, which I had missed. But anyway, so the good news is that just tomorrow I'm going to keep going, and just, part of the audit is them requesting testing a lot of stuff. So I got to pull files, whether it's electronic or paper, upload it to a portal, or put it on the desk for them to sift through physically. So I'm in really good shape, better than I have been in the last few years. So I'm very optimistic that the audit will go well this year. Next week, again, just nobody call me until at least Thursday, because auditors for the first 2 days, and then it's also a payroll week, which is not great. So that takes several hours. So I got to make sure, just head down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then I can breathe. And then hopefully the audit goes well, and then it'll just be the report and back to normal. So
just a couple of initial comments. Thank you, Mark.
yes.
I don't think you can ignore the connection between our current financial position and the work that was done by former members, Bill, Jane, and Jerry, to renegotiate that loan, right? That's one of the things that has put us in this position. So it's beneficial to all parties, and it was a great amount of work. So, I think that's there. I wonder, as we talk about the reserve concept and really kind of sharpening how we want to do that, would it be appropriate for the auditors to opine on what an appropriate reserve balance would be for an operation of our size?
They wouldn't have to necessarily officially opine on it. I mean, we can ask them, and they can give us their professional opinion.
As we're collecting and they're here, It might just be, you know, an extra data point. I know
Yeah.
you're going to have your math behind it and a calculation that kind of comes up with here's what we think. Maybe we'll get some information as we talk through the cash sweep option, as the bank kind of does a preliminary estimate of that. But that may be an extra data point that could say, you know,
Yeah, on Monday morning when the auditors come, it's two lower level people that do all the work, but the senior manager will be there to have an initial meeting for about an hour. So I'll write down a note to ask her to discuss that.
that'll be good.
Yeah, thank you.
And good luck with those discussions.
Thank you.
Everything will go well. Don't worry.
I'm sure.
So I'd
Right.
like just to make a comment, if I may, and I speak as a relative layman here, only having been on the committee for the authority for, I'm not sure, a couple of years or how long it's been at this moment in time. But when I look at numbers, I'm a bit of a numbers guy, a bit of a club guy. When I look at numbers that say, the budget, total operational net income, this obviously no depreciation, no debt service, just operations, basically budgeted for this fiscal year to make $340,000. And we actually made $700,000. So we were $360,000 ahead of our budget. And let's put credit where credit's due in these areas, and it's all due to the people who work at Oak Hills. It's due to you, Mark, and to Jim, and to Paul, and to everybody that works down below there, because it's the people that make this place go. And how the course looks, what we put into it, and I think it's just a great credit to all of you, and it's great for us and for me, especially on the authority, to see and to give us this ability to be able to have some of this money that we can start to put back into the club and to have it grow. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Nice, Steve.
Concur. Here.
Definitely. And it's also nice, Mark, that the budget now is behind you. So,
Oh, you have
that's like a big, absolutely huge relief.
Yeah, I had a nice glass of wine that night.
That's good.
Yeah, and now once the
Cheers.
audit's done, that'll be like, all right, now I can actually. And I just very happy to report that one of Paul's guys that he has up in the pro shop that had given me some time to assist me 2 years ago is back from college, and he's not going back until mid-September. So I've got him for the next 2 months now, just 2-3 hours a week. It makes a huge difference to where I can have him doing stuff so I can focus on a few other things. Just huge. So I'm very, very happy.
Great. Okay. Good.
All right.
Right.
If there's nothing else for Mark, we can move on to the next agenda item or group of agenda items, which is committee reports. And we can start off with Denise on tennis.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'll just go over a couple of the things that we've been working on and that are happening, which are really good, positive things. I know that Mark had filled out the W-9. We got the $5,000 grant from the Connecticut USTA, which is going to go eventually, when we get it, into our little fund for facility repairs. And so that's, we do have the paperwork to fill out, which we'll need to sit down. Probably I'll start with maybe you, Jim, when we can make an appointment, we can just set some time and go over everything and all the questions that they're asking. It's pretty just kind of sitting down and gathering the information. So I think it could be done, just by sitting there and reviewing it together type of thing. And we're still waiting to hear from the National USTA grant, which will be $18,000, but that's in the works. Our volunteer, Chris Halsey, has, he believes that it's going to happen and that the USTA is really interested in working with us here at the tennis center. And one of the things that is going to help us with that grant is the fall programming that I'm planning on doing. I'm working with the pro Chris Maya, and I hope to maybe at some point introduce him to everybody here. So he's going to help me with the youth program starting in September. It'll run to about October. There's going to be 8 different, there's going to be 2 different age groups, and it'll be probably 8 classes that he's going to offer. So he'll take care of all the pro work. And then he's also going to introduce on weekends their USTA youth tournaments. And so if we can get into the schedule on Saturday and Sundays, it'll be something that'll happen like from 1 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'll be gathering different kids with it being part of a tournament so that they can come and be at Oak Hills and play different levels of the tournament. And if we can get that going, I mean, that'll be a big kind of self-advertising for the tennis center to kind of get on the map there. And it would also help promote us getting that $18,000 loan, which will go for the facility repairs. So it's something that's in the works. And let's see. We're meeting on Sunday with the Friends of Tennis. And so we hope to finalize the wording that we're going to use for the plaque for art. And then once we can finalize the wording, then we can present it again to the cultural affairs, have them approve everything, and then move forward actually with the plaque, and then move forward with the dedication. So it's kind of been on hold a little bit. We've been going back and forth on what we wanted to say. So I think we kind of narrowed it down pretty well. So that's something that we hope to do, hopefully maybe September, October, to have it all finalized and finished. And that's kind of it for the moment. I mean, we did raise what, $775 for our tournament that we had for this. It was called Strawberries and Cream. It was a lot of fun because one of our Friends of Tennis brought their TV. We set it up on what was it, the 9th of July, Rich? I think it was.
Yeah.
So we had our drop-in from 10 to 12, but we called it Strawberries and Cream, and we had a round robin tournament. We gave prizes out, and we had the TV going, watching the Wimbledon tournament, and we had strawberries and cream and scones, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good day, and we got it all in, and then it poured like at 12:30. So just as we finished, the rain came down, and it worked out really well though. So it was a fun day. And then we'll plan on our Labor Day tournament in September, and that'll just be another fun day. And I mean, the courts are busy. Kings Highway will be out of there at the end of August, and then we'll be doing our own little thing. So if anybody has any questions. I don't have any update, Rich, on the pergola. If you would like to update it, the pergola.
Luckily, I've turned over the job of the pergola to Jim. I know he picked up the building permit last Monday, and I know we passed it along, and the contractor for the job is looking to get a subcontractor to put up to do this footing and putting up the frame. So we're waiting to hear back in terms of a time frame. So I know I've heard from Mark. I think Mark mentioned that they raised something like 25,000 and put it in the supporters. And so I think they have a nice collection for this tennis player, Andy Gillard, who passed away last November. And yeah, now the kind of ball's in their court finally after several months. So hopefully we'll get a time frame soon from whoever they have to put up the frame, put up the pergola.
Okay, a question about that, Mark. So the money that they've now donated and run it through the supporters, that money specifically, and only that money will go towards the pergola. So it won't get mixed up with the other funds that we're raising?
Yeah, so when I record all the cash receipts, I put, if there's a specific stipulation, I'll put it in there. It's already sitting in the tennis fund, first of all, so it's only tennis. And then within there, I have Andy Gillard pergola, and I believe it's somewhere around 32,000, which is, I mean, ridiculous and fantastic.
That's very good.
Well, the 32,000 was the money donated for the pergola, or that's the money in the account? That's not.
No,
So it's two separate.
No, I think 30 or upwards of 30 is specifically for the pergola, Andy Gillard.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah. And I'll get you that accounting tomorrow as per your request.
Okay, thank you very much. Great.
Right.
So I mean, that's kind of my report. I mean, there's other things that we can talk about, but maybe next month after they get going.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't think anybody, if anybody has any opposing thoughts of running the whole program, please let me know. Because otherwise I'm moving ahead with everything. So,
The voice was garbled for a second there. Anyone has any opposing thoughts of?
for me, not running the fall program for the youth, for the kids. If anybody has any thoughts of that it shouldn't happen, let me know now, but right now
Oh,
it's
no.
going forward. So, you know, and all the money will go into the supporters account, and all of the expenses will also come out of that money. So it'll just, you know, self-support itself.
It's a terrific idea.
So,
Grateful that you do it. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, we have Chris, and he's really, really excited to, you know, step in and help out and do things too. So,
Fantastic.
okay.
All right. Thank you, Denise. Next up is Restaurant Committee and Alan. We haven't talked about the restaurant.
No report, just an idea. Jim, do you think it would make sense if we, you know, Don is invited to our meetings, is that correct, Joe? Might be worth just having to invite Don to our next meeting. Maybe Jim could do that. Do you think that would make sense? Do we need to do that, or just, what do you think, Joe?
Yes, or Lisa.
Or Lisa? Yes, precisely. Yeah, either one. Yeah. Okay. So Jim, if you would, Holiday, not Shell, of course. Maybe you'd like to do that?
Of course, yep.
And just to be clear, they are invited to all these meetings. But you know, maybe it is through Don, and everybody knows you're running a restaurant. Your evening is taken away. So maybe if we, you know, shoot it out to both of them, it'll be a higher chance that they'll be able to attend. But this is a challenging time for them to be able to be here. Yeah, I think that's a fine idea. Okay. We can move on to the next one, which is supporters. And Jerry, any update?
As you heard, Mark's been kind of busy. All right, so I haven't bothered him because he's the main funnel with all the money. So I don't have a report for the month, a detailed report. And so I will have one next month.
Okay.
I'll just jump in with a super quick one then, because a lot of requests were being asked for the balances. I basically have reconciled through June 30th. So I just have to give what that means is I've prepared the financials for the supporters for the fiscal year ending 2023. What happens then is that I give it to Randy Avery, our attorney, and he files an informational return to the IRS on our behalf. So I haven't sent it to him yet. It's super, usually I send it to him 2-3 months afterwards. So I don't want to surprise him by sending it to him too early. So I'll get that over to him soon, and then I'll update the last 2-3 weeks for Denise tomorrow, which shouldn't take me more than 6 minutes. And then I can kind of be done with that for the next few weeks. But yeah, again, just the amount of tennis money and regular non-pergola tennis money is still coming in, you know, in only hundreds. It's great.
Okay, so next month.
Okay.
We should.
Oh, and Jim purchased a water fountain, right? I believe.
Yeah.
And that was requested as well to go through the supporters. I think it was about $1,500. So we had technically paid for it. We being OHPA. So I have to write a check from the supporters to us to cover that.
I believe we got a donation specifically for that though, didn't we, Mark?
Yep.
We did. Okay. Great. Okay.
That's
All
it.
right. Thanks, Jerry. Mark, are you able to give a Nature Advisory Committee update, or shall we
Audrey, the former chairman, unfortunately, fell down an entire flight of stairs and severely broke her hip.
Oh my
And
gosh.
had to have it actually removed, a hip replacement,
Oh,
full hip replacement.
Wow.
So she's recovering. We had purchased a bunch of stakes. We had discussions on a few things, but we had purchased 4-foot iron wrought stakes in order to help out, to plant them in the ground to help out some of the steeper parts of the trails. Paul, that's what's sitting in our hallway, by the way, those 2 boxes. But Jim also checked with Randy. We're not certain yet if we could or should put them in, because it may create a liability on our behalf. So we just want to make 100% certain that what we do is truly beneficial and not a liability where someone's now going to sue us because the handhold didn't hold. And it's Jim's busy time. It's my busy time. So kind of on the back burner, maybe in the fall, although that's leaf season. So, we kind of need Jim to maybe look in to see if there's a way to really get it in the ground. And that's just not going to happen in the middle of, high season. So.
Thanks for understanding.
Absolutely.
not high season, not leaf season.
See you in January, I guess.
Yeah. When it's easy to drive things into the ground, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. That's the last report, and we've already done agenda item number 7. So I think we are pretty close to done with the meeting. The only thing left, there's 2 things. There's a motion to adjourn, and then I just want to make a note about next meeting. I'll do that first. The next meeting is regularly scheduled for August 17th. I'll be on vacation and unavailable. So we can either go without me or, we can work to reschedule. So I'll send a couple of notes out, see if there's other folks who are going to be taking another direction, and maybe we'll come up with a special meeting date.
That's great, because I was going to say I won't be able to make it either. I'm on vacation too that week, not with Joe, but same exact timing. So
Okay.
yeah, let's discuss. Okay.
All right. And well, I guess we have to be able to adjourn. So even though we don't have a quorum, I'll assume that Gary would have voted yay on adjourning. But can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second. I second. And I'll assume any opposed. Hearing none. Everybody have a great evening. Good meeting.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice night.